sun comes up on America. Across open fields, small towns, and city streets, a new day begins. And here, we rise with it. This is where hard work meets headlines, where truth matters, and America wakes up informed.
An interesting week.
They all are.
This is your country. This is your morning. This is Daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. America, let's do it together.
Love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
And it starts right now.
All right, welcome to it as we kick off another brand new day here, and it's going to be a busy one. We've got a lot to cover from the foxhole of freedom. Three big things this hour. Number one, Tulsi Gabbard out sooner than expected. Bill Pulte has stepped in as acting DNI. Coming up later, another former lieutenant of the administration will join me to discuss that and more. It's a conversation you don't want to miss. Number two, big primary elections were on tap for governor of California, mayor of L.A., among many others. Those were the big two. We'll tell you what happened there. Steve Hilton and Pratt, they advanced. That's what you need to know. And number three, we're the ones keeping the lights on. The shelves stocked, the trucks rolling down the highways. And we notice when things feel off with our bodies, our kids, and our futures. And more of us are asking, why does it seem like our health is under siege? Is it just bad luck, modern life, or something more deliberate from the elites who jet around telling us to live while they pull the strings and tell us they don't need to do the same? Let's start with the kids. Walk into any school cafeteria and you see it immediately. Child obesity at record levels, pandemic levels. 1 in 5 American kids now obese, over 20% for ages 2 to 19, 20%, and climbing in recent years. Back in the 70s, it was less than 5%. It's not just the kids. We are working longer hours and grabbing ultra-processed food because it's cheap and fast and literally formulated to be addicting to our taste buds and our bodies. But something's deeply wrong when our kids are heavier and sicker than ever before. Who benefits from flooding the markets with cheap seed oils, sugar, and snacks engineered to hook us? Not us. Then there's autism, of course. CDC data shows about 1 in 31 8-year-olds identified with autism spectrum disorder now, up dramatically from 1 in 150 or so a couple of decades ago. Boys are hit hardest. Parents swap stories in factories and at Little League. More diagnosis, more therapies, more overwhelmed families. Dr. Brian Hooker calls the epidemic cataclysmic. Here's part of it.
Year 2032, if things don't stop, you will either be autistic yourself or you will be a caregiver for somebody that has severe low-functioning autism. 1 in 2 individuals will have autism, and 80% of all males born in that period will have autism. Okay, so it's cataclysmic. No wonder Secretary Kennedy is working so quickly.
Half. And more boys. More. Sure, better awareness plays a role, but the explosion has regular people wondering about environmental triggers, gut health, prenatal factors. Why the surge in our lifetime? We're not supposed to ask too loudly, of course, and God forbid we ask about the vaccines that could be a factor in all of it. Then there's the explosion of ADHD and meds. Kids bouncing off walls, getting diagnosed and put on stimulants young. Rampant overprescription. Schools sustained, parents working double shifts, screens everywhere. Now adults too. Are we medicating normal responses to a broken environment instead of fixing the diet, sleep, movement? Pharma profits soar while we wonder about long-term effects. And do you even know how some of these medications got their start? How about in education? Adderall or Ritalin. Ritalin was created by a Swiss chemist who liked to test meth derivatives on his wife while she played tennis. And the one that worked, he named Ritalin after her, Rita Lynn. And now some husbands experiment on his wife is being pumped into households across America constantly. Listen to this.
They start to use this in different areas, like in war, and so, like giving it to like soldiers and stuff like this. Then eventually they get out of that and they're like, how do we get this into everybody's hands? Because that's big pharma. It's no conspiracy. They're trying to sell their product. And they realized this makes people focus. We could give it to people that have trouble focusing. Now, the trouble with that is there's no way to actually diagnose ADHD with a blood test, a brain scan, not even brain scans. So how do they diagnose ADHD in this country? It's a little test you do. So you go into a psychiatrist's office, they do a little test. Who is the test designed by? The companies that sell the ADHD drugs. Okay? Almost anybody can go, and if they want, just like fail that test, and you can get prescribed this stuff. I think it's heavily overprescribed. I think it's a joke in the United States that especially boys are prescribed this at a far higher rate than girls. 1 out of 10 boys is on Adderall right now.
Wow. Like he says, it's no conspiracy. 1 in 10. Big Pharma has one objective: sell the product. Meanwhile, fertility feels like it's collapsing too. Sperm counts down sharply in many studies over decades. Some reports say over 50% globally since the 70s. U.S. total fertility rates hitting lows around 1.6 births per woman. Couples pouring savings into IVF while wondering why it's harder to conceive. And endocrine disruptors and plastics, water, food, could that be it? Stress from the economic grind? Something's messing with our hormones, and it's hitting working families the hardest. Now, that's something else Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is asking questions about, as he should. Listen.
We can't explain exactly why fertility is decreasing because, as you know, there are thousands of exposures that are endocrine disruptors that are disrupting it. But clearly plastics and microplastics are part of that picture.
Absolutely.
And male sperm counts, I think, in this country are down 50% for teenage males. I read the other day that teenage males today have less sperm than the average 65-year-old American man. And testosterone rates are dropping. And then you see female fertility issues too, like nothing that we've ever seen before.
How about another concern? Forever chemicals, PFAS, and PFOAs everywhere. Non-stick pans, waterproof gear, food packaging, drinking water, you name it. Nearly all of us have them in our blood, and they've been linked to reproductive issues, lower birth weights, immune problems, certain cancers, developmental delays. You see a tie-in here? Because I do. These don't break down, they accumulate. Factories and big industry dump them for years. Regulators slow to act. We're the guinea pigs in a chemical experiment, paying with our health while profits flow upward. And Leo Transat, a doctor, says we're paying before we even come out of the womb. Listen to this.
We can't explain exactly why.
Just to start in the cradle, we're talking about babies being born too soon. Phthalates, these chemicals that are used commonly in food packaging, contribute to 50,000 premature births in the U.S. each year. We're talking about kids who are born with inadequate brain development as a result of that, and they're less well able to perform in school and less well able to perform in the economy. And there are additional healthcare costs that are directly related to those toxic exposures. As a pediatrician, I'm always going to say kids are uniquely vulnerable.
Yeah.
Pound for pound, they eat more food, drink more water, breathe more air, so they're uniquely susceptible. Their organ systems are also
Exposed to poison is what he's saying. More after this. All right, we are exposed to countless poisons nowadays, all thanks to greed and corruption, it seems. How about another example? Gluten sensitivities and allergies exploding. More people are reacting to wheat than ever. Is it modern wheat breeding? Glyphosate residue? Gut damage from processed diets? I don't know. RFK Jr. has noticed a red line that points to the company Monsanto, who sells glyphosate to the farmers with the promise that more of their crop will make it harvest time easier. Well, we'll see. Listen.
What Monsanto did is they began telling farmers, spray this on the crop, on your wheat, right before harvest or at the time of harvest. And it was so popular that about 85% of the Roundup that has been used in history has been used since 2006.
Wow.
And a large part of that is as a desiccant. And what that meant, Mark, is for the first time they're spraying it on food.
Yeah.
Right at harvest.
Yeah.
And for the first
Not
time.
early in the season when it
Right.
may have a chance to wash off, but actually just before you're going to eat it.
Right. And they're spraying it for the first time on wheat because there was no such thing as Roundup Ready wheat.
Yeah.
They started spraying it on wheat as a desiccant. And so 2006 marks the date when suddenly these gluten allergies began exploding. And the
Interesting.
celiac disease and all these kind of wheat problems that we started seeing in this country.
Yeah, whatever it is, families cut out bread and feel better, but the food system acts like it's a mystery. Same with seed oils and additives. Our grandparents didn't have this many gut issues, now did they? Now the elites. Take Bill Gates, a billionaire so-called philanthropist, pouring money into global health, agriculture, and biotech. People talk about his foundation's grants for tick research aimed at cattle ticks in Africa via gene tech, but it fuels suspicions when tick-borne issues like alpha-gal, that red meat allergy, rise alongside expanding ticks. Coincidence? Maybe. But when one guy funds so much of the world's solutions, regular people start to ask questions, like me and you, and as they should. Since all the way back in 2014, a World Economic Forum bioethicist suggested we could give people meat allergies intentionally. Into the time machine, here's what he said.
So I'll give two examples. So one is that people eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption on meat, then they would it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Yeah, you know, some people will be willing to, but other people, they may be willing to, but they have a weakness of will. They say, wow, this steak is just too juicy. I can't do it. I'm one of those, by the way. So, you know, but so here's the thought, right? So it turns out that we know a lot about, we have these intolerance to, for example, I have milk intolerance. And some people are intolerant to crayfish. So possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you'll become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems through human engineering.
Isn't that nice? These guys think they can play God, and every time they do, something seems to go terribly wrong. Bill Gates has spent over $7.5 million on genetically modified ticks. And I have a feeling we'll never even know the outcome of that endeavor. Of course not. Just like we don't really know what's in one of Bill Gates' other projects, Appeal. Appeal. This is on your fruits and vegetables. Watch this.
So one of the biggest mysteries in the organic produce world right now is how did the new Appeal coating with financial backing from Bill Gates get approved for use on organic produce? You'll see these Appeal stickers on lots of produce items now. It means the produce has a coating on it that seals it up tight against anything getting in or out, preserves it longer, like the introduction of the refrigerator. Great, but what's in this coating? Well, it seems to be shrouded in mystery. The product intended to be organic, listed as Organappeal, is registered with the EPA as a pesticide with a rather short and cryptic ingredient list. Active ingredient, citric acid at 0.66%. Other ingredients, not named, 99.34%. And that's 100%. Great, it's all accounted for. Maybe it's listed that way because citric acid could qualify as organic if it's not from a synthetic source. But what about the other 99.34%? Because I'm supposed to eat this coating.
Yeah. Look, we just want to eat real food without wondering if it's another tech fix making things worse. This isn't tinfoil hat stuff, guys. It's pattern recognition. Elites fly private, eat organic, live in low-density bubbles. They push vaccines, novel foods, chemicals, and policies while our life expectancy stagnates or drops in working-class areas. Deaths of despair rise, and chronic illness, it explodes. The food system incentivizes junk while Big Pharma treats symptoms without the cause. We are not anti-science. We're not. We are pro-truth and curious about why autism, obesity, infertility, and allergies track with the post-World War II chemical boom, processed food explosion, and centralized power in just a few hands. Why do our solutions always mean more pills, more shots, more tech coatings, instead of clean water, real food, less stress, and, of course, maybe some better wages? Fellow workers, reclaim agency. Grow what you can. Read labels. Lift weights. Go to the gym. Sleep. Question authority. Demand better data, not dismissal. Our health isn't a profit center or control mechanism. It's the foundation of strong families and a strong country. It's time to ask more questions, to push back harder, to know more. And that's the monologue. Good to have you here today. I'd like to know your feedback on this. Look, I've got lots of questions and not enough answers, I admit. But we're digging every day. This is the relentless pursuit of truth every single day. Glad to have you here. Happy Wednesday. I'll be right back. Well, big primaries held yesterday, as you know. Probably the two biggest being watched, California. One was actually a race for the mayor of L.A. But Karen Bass, the current mayor of L.A., didn't get anywhere near 50% to avoid a runoff. She got 36%. Spencer Pratt got 30%, so they'll be facing off in the November election. More fun from Spencer Pratt for the rest of the year. That's kind of cool. In the race for governor in California, Steve Hilton, the Republican, came out on top. But that doesn't mean much. Xavier Becerra came in second, so there will be a Democrat on the ballot, and Democrats will most likely hang on to the governorship in California because Democrats have done such a wonderful job for the place, right? And one surprise, Donald Trump's perfect record has gone up in smoke as the Trump-backed candidate for governor in Iowa lost in an upset. Trump-backed Congressman Randy Feenstra conceded to the Maha-backed Republican Zach Lahn after the polls closed Tuesday night. Lahn is a farmer and businessman who campaigned on an Iowa First message, pulling off a surprising upset over Feenstra in the race to succeed outgoing Republican Governor Kim Reynolds. Now, in a quick show of support, he was only down by a couple thousand votes, was Feenstra, but he said it was unsurmountable. And so he has already thrown his support behind Mr. Lon. We'll see how that plays out. For 250 years, the promise of America has been the freedom to build something of your own. And for millions of families, that dream begins with owning a home, of course. But in the blink of an eye, that American dream can turn into a nightmare. With just some public information and a forged signature, criminals can legally transfer your home ownership into their name, and getting it back, months, maybe years, thousands in legal fees just to reclaim what's already yours. That's why we trust the experts at Home Title Lock. With 24/7 title monitoring, urgent alerts, and a 100% fraud restoration success rate, they fight for property owners and their loved ones against this growing crime. And to celebrate America's 250th birthday, you get 25% off, up to 2 years in title fraud protection. That's over $100 in savings and peace of mind, plus a free title history report to ensure you're not already a victim. Use my promo code Gruber25, Gruber25 at HometitleLock.com and get protected today. All right? HometitleLock.com, promo code Gruber25. Don't be a victim. Celebrate America 250 in your home. Welcome back to the program. Glad to have you as we continue. My next guest created quite a stir back in March when he resigned from the Trump administration, citing concerns over the involvement in the Iran war. He was now the former National Counterterrorism Center Director, Joe Kent, a guy who enlisted in the Army at the age of 17, became a paramilitary officer in the CIA, and later, as I said, became the National Counterterrorism Director until he stepped down in March, citing concerns over our conflict with Iran. Joe, welcome to the program.
Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
You created ripples for sure among those who supported the war effort and those that were opposed. Tell us your reasoning for stepping down in March.
It's twofold. First off, there was no imminent threat coming from Iran. I agree with Secretary Rubio when he said that the only imminent threat was coming from Israel, who was going to attack Iran to force us into this war, knowing that Iran would then attack our bases in the region, sucking us into this conflict. Over the course of basically the entire Trump administration, I watched the Israelis use their access to our government, but also their apparatus within the media, move the president's red line from Iran can't have a nuclear weapon to no enrichment is acceptable from Iran in order to sabotage the negotiations that President Trump was undertaking in their effort to get us into this war. And they were successful, unfortunately, in doing that. So the amount of foreign influence from the Israelis within our government was not something that I could tolerate, but also the fact that the president really, unfortunately, had his circle shrunk around him. So a lot of the information that we were trying to get to him wasn't reaching him because after the 12-day war, basically the Deputies Committee process, the National Security Council process wasn't being used. Trump only had a few small circle of advisors around him who essentially were just sort of repeating what the Israelis were saying. And unfortunately, that's how we got into this conflict. My other reason for resigning is deeply personal. I served 11 combat deployments, primarily in Iraq and other locations. And I'd promised myself years ago that if I was ever in a position to stop the next generation from being sent off to die on foreign battlefields, that I would speak up and I would do something about that, not knowing what the future held. So unfortunately, when the body bag started coming back into Dover, a place where I had been to receive my late wife when she was killed in Syria, I realized that morally I also couldn't support the war and felt that it was necessary to publicly speak out against it.
Today, let's fast forward. We're about just over 90 days into this conflict. We've been in a ceasefire of, well, some degree or another for the last month or so. Where do you see this? Obviously, you're not connected the way you were before, but you still have friends and contacts, I would assume, inside. Where are we in this conversation? The president says we're close to a deal, and yet it never seems to come quite as quickly as some would like. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the president realizes that he was sold a false bill of goods. The Israelis and the pro-Israel lobby in the administration and outside the administration promised the president that this was going to be quick and easy. This was going to be like Venezuela, that there was protesters on the streets. All we had to do was take out the supreme leader and Iran would fall. That obviously has not borne out. That has not proven to be true. If there was a military solution, the president would simply execute it. Unfortunately, because of just geography, the Iranians are able to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. That's having massive implications on the world economy, having massive implications at the price of the pump here in the United States. That gives Iran a lot of leverage, and they don't have to expend a lot in order to exert that leverage. We also have seen that the Iranians can activate their proxy network. They were withholding them while the negotiations were going on in the first two iterations in good faith, but they activated the proxy network. They took out the majority of our bases in the region, shattered our security arrangements we have with the Gulf states. So right now, whether we want to admit it or not, the Iranians have a lot of leverage militarily over us. That's why the president really is reluctant to resume the fighting, because there is no military solution. The diplomatic front is even more dire. We unfortunately listened to the Israelis at the beginning of the conflict, and we got on board with taking out the supreme leader, who was, by Iranian standards, a moderating force. We've continued to kill and allow the Israelis to kill off a lot of the moderates. And so now we're negotiating with an emboldened, hardlined IRGC element within Iran. We also don't do ourselves any favors. Let me ask you something,
Joe. Didn't these moderates kill thousands of their own people earlier this year?
Moderate by Iranian standards. I say moderate in terms of how they were approaching us. They're not moderate like in terms of what we would view as a moderate government here in America. However, that former regime had kept the prohibition on the development of nuclear weapons since 2003. From the time President Trump came back in January, they withheld their proxies. Under the Biden administration, the Iranian proxies were attacking our troops. But when Trump came back in, they respected President Trump. They withheld the proxies. They actually even withheld their proxies and withheld attacking us during the 12-day war. So we watched the Iranians observe a very, very careful and cautious, pragmatic escalation ladder under the former regime. Now, the Israelis baked this into the cake, and they got us into the assassination against the former supreme leader and a lot of the other moderates. So now we're in this situation where we're left with a much more hardline element to negotiate with. Another problem that we have is that we continue to allow the pro-Israel lobby to dictate terms of what's acceptable in these negotiations. President Trump's longstanding policy.
Having said that, I need to jump in on that. It's well known that earlier this week, the president had an extremely heated conversation with Bibi Netanyahu and basically told the Israeli prime minister, you can get on board with what we're doing and stop meddling, or you can be on an island. That's from the sources that I have inside the White House, and that Bibi Netanyahu has, whether reluctantly or not, agreed to follow the terms, because there are people inside the administration and elsewhere that think a deal is not that far away, and that Bibi Netanyahu has been told you can either play ball or be on an island. What are your thoughts?
Unfortunately, it really doesn't matter what we say privately or publicly to Bibi or anyone in the Israeli administration, as long as we continue to provide them with, $3.8 billion in military assistance, as long as we continue to put resources inside Israel that helps with their defensive capabilities. If we don't take things away from the Israelis, it doesn't really matter what we say to them. And just last night, we saw those contradictory statements come out, one from President Trump saying that the Israelis had agreed to a ceasefire, and then another one basically from Benjamin Netanyahu saying, like, we're going to continue to do strikes inside Lebanon. They continue to do strikes throughout the night. So unfortunately, until we actually take away features of the support that we give to the Israelis that give them the ability to go on the offense, they simply won't take us seriously. Every now and again, they may, be publicly deferential to President Trump, but they don't fundamentally change their calculus. We need to recognize that Israel has drastically different strategic goals than us, and not give Israel a seat at the table when it comes time to negotiate with the Iranians, because our main goal should be to end the conflict, get the Straits of Hormuz reopened so we can get the world economy back online. So, but the first step in all of that is restraining the Israelis, because the Israelis on multiple occasions have taken strikes against Iranian targets and Lebanese targets, Lebanese Hezbollah targets, while we're actually at the negotiating table trying to negotiate with the Iranians. And the Iranians just yesterday said that they include the ceasefire within Lebanon as part of the overall deal.
Now, why would they do that?
Getting to a deal.
Would you not consider Hezbollah a reasonable target to take out that group that has been involved with killing Americans, frankly, over the last 50 years?
I certainly do, if it's limited counterterrorism strikes. If it's limited self-defense strikes, obviously I wouldn't fault the Israelis for doing that. If it's taking out in a very targeted way key leaders, but that's not what the Israelis are doing. Us and the Israelis have a very different view of counterterrorism. We are very judicious. We attempt to mitigate civilian casualties. We only try and take out the key terrorist leaders. The Israelis are fighting a war of expansion. They're trying to expand into southern Lebanon. They have a much higher tolerance for civilian casualties, to the point of basically genocide, like we've seen within Gaza. So we have to understand that if our
Joe, hold that thought right there.
Deal,
hold that thought right there. I'm going to hit a commercial real quick here. We're going to be back with Joe Kent, former National Counterterrorism Center Director, right after this. Welcome back to the program. Joe Kent still with me, former National Counterterrorism Director, talking about Israel's goals compared to the United States goals. And you say they're entirely different, 180 degrees out of phase. Continue.
Yes, so the Israelis view this right now, this key moment, as a time to take down the Iranian regime, and they don't care if it takes a long time to take down the Iranian regime. They're completely comfortable with Iran disintegrating into a chaotic situation like we had for many years in Syria, like we still have to a certain degree in Libya, and then within Lebanon, they are actually trying to expand their territory. They're trying to take more territory inside of Lebanon. And so we have to ask ourselves as Americans, does this align with what our strategic goals are, especially in the case of Iran? Their strategic goals are vastly different than ours. President Trump has said, although we've done some regime change like activities, our goal isn't regime change. We want them at the negotiating table. We want them to come down on the development of a nuclear weapon. We want them to reopen the Straits of Hormuz. However, the Israelis have a completely different goal. And so we've partnered with them. And it's impossible for us to pursue American interests when our partner has just basically a drastically different strategic goal than we do. It's important to note, too, that before the war, the Iranians were not able to basically say, hey, what happens in Lebanon, we get a vote in as well. But because of the war, because of killing off the moderates and because of what the Iranians were able to do with our bases in the Gulf and shutting down the Straits of Hormuz, the Iranians have now emboldened themselves to say everything that takes place with our negotiations with the Americans, it also includes Lebanon and Hezbollah. So we're now actually in a worse position right now after the war than we were at the beginning of the war. And also, to state the obvious, the Straits of Hormuz was open before the war, and now it is shut down, and we're going to have to probably give up a good deal in order to get it reopened.
And we'll have to find out how that plays out. The president says that there'll be no tolls paid and the straits will be reopened. And again, people inside the administration remain optimistic that they do have a deal close at hand, which is why Bibi Netanyahu got the dress down from the administration, from the president earlier this week. Let me go back to the Iranian challenges. You talk about the leverage they have, but what about their oil storage capabilities? They can only store so much before their wells have a problem. It's past the time that I thought that they would be jammed, but that's a problem for them. Plus $400 million a day, give or take, that they're losing on a daily basis. It's a financial hardship for that country too, is it not?
Iran's been under financial hardship for 47 years. As long as this regime has been in power, they've been under attack, whether it was the Iraq-Iran war or under a heavy sanctions regime to some degree from us. So in terms of who can endure more economic pain, it's going to be the Iranians. They just have the muscle memory and they already have that hardness built up. They're going to find other ways to get a lot of their oil out. A lot of it's going out over land. I think that's just a basic economic problem where they have a commodity that is desired. They will find a way to sell it, probably not to its maximum effectiveness.
Certainly not.
But this is where I do think we could have some leverage. If we were to remove our forces, our blockade from the region and just have President Trump declare that he won, he doesn't need a deal to win. President Trump's even said this himself. He can say, hey, we won. I don't need a deal to win. We're bringing our guys home. The Iranians then lose their justification for having a strong military presence in the Gulf. They lose a lot of their justification for charging tolls. Then they're going to have to answer to the world economy. And
Right.
then we can come back quietly to them and say, hey, sanctions relief. We can offer sanctions relief in exchange for what we want from the nuclear file. And that will give you the ability to sell your oil back on the market.
Well, we'll see if that plays out. It sounds like a reasonable path forward. Joe, I want to switch gears now. The departure of Tulsi Gabbard, a little quicker than expected as she has headed for the door before the end of June. What do you make about her departure as DNI?
Well, I believe Tulsi and her husband when they say that he has a aggressive form of bone cancer. I think he's undergoing a procedure today. So my family and my prayers are with Tulsi and her husband. So she's doing the hard thing. I know she loves being the DNI. I know she loves serving her country, but she's doing the right thing. She's stepping away to take care of her husband. It's a big loss for the country because having Tulsi's clarity, having her voice there, her intellect in the Situation Room, it's a real loss for the country. But again, Tulsi's doing the right thing and praying for her and Abe.
Some questions about how that office was run. And in fact, I want to ask you this. Are you aware of any DOJ investigations into you and your behavior and anything that you did while you were the Counterterrorism Center Director?
Only the things I've seen on the internet. So the day that I walked out as director of National Counterterrorism Center, I had a full clearance. I was getting the presidential daily brief. So the rumors of some sort of an investigation, I believe, and I haven't seen any other evidence otherwise, that those were basically just a messaging technique coming from the White House to try and discredit some of the things that I was saying.
Well, there's some discussion beyond the internet of the misuse of software on American citizens. Were you ever involved in such a thing?
No.
And are you concerned at all that there could be, as these things go, an indictment headed your way because of this investigation?
No, I mean, I'm not concerned because I know I didn't do anything wrong, and they have full access to everything that I did while I was in serving in government.
So, clean slate.
Absolutely.
All right. Joe, I appreciate you being here today, and I appreciate the candid conversation. A lot to talk about here. A lot of people have different feelings about this. In fact, I'll just give you the last word on all of it.
No, I wish the administration all the best. I hope President Trump surprises all of us and he comes up with a historic peace deal. I would just advise the administration that if we can't get a peace deal and we can't solve this militarily, it is time for us just to declare victory, come home, and solve this through quiet diplomacy.
Joe Kent, I appreciate your time here today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
There you have it, Joe Kent, former National Counterterrorism Center Director. Stepped down, he says, because of the conflict with Iran and too much influence from Israel and what we're doing in the Middle East. I'll take your thoughts at stevegruber.com. Send me an email. Let me know what you think. Always trying to give you as much information as possible. It is the relentless pursuit of truth. I'll take a break. This is Daybreak. Well, it seems that some of you are not pleased that I did an interview with Mr. Kent. And that's okay. This is the way I see it. You listen to people you don't agree with. Let them put it out there. That's how you decide who's right and who's wrong. If you don't like that, maybe you're on the wrong team. Just a thought. The fact of the matter is, somebody just asked me in the chat, would you interview MTG and Thomas Massey? Yeah, I would. Why? Because to hear people is to understand what's right and what's wrong. That's how you decide what to get behind and what to ignore. It's called free speech. I believe in it here. And by the way, Joe Kent will be indicted. That's what my sources tell me. And now we've got him on the record, don't we? So that's where I stand. Yes, I'll talk to anyone. It's my job. I take it seriously. Thanks for listening, and you can send me all the nasty emails you want at stevegruber.com. I'll read them. I might even put them on the air. So try to keep it clean, unless you're too gobsmacked by hearing what somebody from the other side has to say. Come on now. We're Americans. We listen to each other, whether we agree with them or not. That's how we get them on the record, folks. Meanwhile, Scott Pelley fired at CBS News because he got on the record attacking the Tiffany Network. He's gone, and it's better for journalism, by the way. So that's good news. Scott Pelley out at CBS. He's been on 60 Minutes since 2004, and he was a stooge for the left. And, well, they cleaned up that mess. Many of you have struggled to lose weight. You lose it and gain it back. What if I told you it's not your fault? It's not points or shakes or living at the gym. And if it was willpower, you'd already have had it done. What if I told you your metabolism is not broken, it's just turned off? Here's what you need to do to find out. Go to gruberhealth.com, book a free consultation, see if it's a good fit. It's all natural. Eat real food, no exercise needed. Turn your metabolism on naturally and learn the strategies to keep it off. gruberhealth.com will get you back in shape. You'll be glad you did it. All right? You'll be glad you did it. Steve Gruber. That's right, gruberhealth.com. I'll take a break and be right back after this.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now on Real America's Voice.
And welcome back as we continue fighting for you and America from the Foxhole of Freedom, digging deeper to give you the insight and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else in the interviews, too. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, the EPA boss made criminal referrals alleging Democrats have been self-dealing to themselves and friends when it comes to Green New Deal projects. I know you're shocked. Number two, still reviewing the results from all the big primaries yesterday, especially in the race for California governor, mayor of Los Angeles. Both closely watched, plus several more. We'll get to that. And number three, health is kind of the theme this week, as we wait for something to happen in Iran and wait to see if there's a deal to be made with the radicals in that country. When it happens, you'll be the first to know. So in the meantime, Ivy is joining me with that big smile on her face. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning.
Where's that big smile?
It's here.
There it is. Just checking. I don't know if you saw this, Ivy, but yesterday Dr. Mehmet Oz did a press event.
I did.
And there were some big announcements. One of those, another 160 drugs added to Trump RX, bringing the total to almost 800 drugs available. And it'll save the folks, ordinary folks, piles of money. And he looked at something else, too, an incredible, debilitating ailment that's rampant in America these days. And he says it's time to take seriously the dangerous affliction of TDS. Here he is.
Do you have any medical advice for the Americans out there that are suffering from a very serious ailment called Trump derangement syndrome?
I am concerned about folks who have focused their entire life energy on dislike of the president. It's disheartening to see people lost in that way, but you know, treating stupid is really hard.
You know, it's kind of a softball question. And I'm not sure that I would necessarily ask the question, but it is funny.
It is funny.
And it is true. I mean, there are people that literally dedicate their lives to hating the president of the United States instead of celebrating some of the victories. And I don't know if you saw this or heard this, but he also said during that press briefing that they believe that 35% of the people using Obamacare exchanges may not be legitimate.
Yeah, 35%.
And the actual number may translate to 5 to 6 million people who we, the taxpayers, could be paying premiums for.
And
5 to 6 million people.
I'm going to put a line through that could be. Of course we are.
Right.
Look, the fraud in this country, from Minnesota to California, and let's be honest, every state.
Every state.
It is remarkable. By the way, I do want to get to one more thing that Oz talked about. He was asked about the health of the president. Why does he see the doctor so much? Why does he see the doctor so much? Here's what Dr. Oz said about it.
His examinations.
He's had 4 already. The president's supposed to have 1 a year.
Yeah, so I actually have talked to the president about what he's sent to all of you, and I think it's just a routine, regular exam. You remember I had the president on my show 10 years ago, and he also presented records, and at the time I was stunned at how well he was doing, because so many of these numbers naturally over time will start going in the wrong direction. But if you look at these records, they're spectacular. You know, his cholesterol, his blood pressure, all the numbers are starting in excellent parameters. His ability, and listen, I work with him frequently. Many of you get to see him almost every day. That amount of energy and that amount of mental acuity does not exist in a vacuum. You have to have a vessel to carry it, and the president has a unique ability to just keep going at all hours of the day with remarkable strength. Let's go.
So true. So true. You know, and compare that. You know, you've got Jill Biden out there now admitting that she thought Joe Biden.
Isn't it funny? It was like during the Biden years, everyone was like, he's in the best health.
Yeah, he's robust. He's the sharpest
And then now
person.
with Trump, who is actually in great health and a tremendous amount of energy, kind of this freak energy that all of us are going, dude, what are you on?
No kidding.
And you know, of course, all of the reporters that, you know, just complete liars want to say, oh, he's in terrible health. And actually, I read a lot of the comments for that bite that you pulled.
Yeah.
And people are like, look at the bruises, look at this, look at that. You know,
He's 80.
He's in complete terrible health. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Let me revert back to your first bite of let's get some help for them for TDS.
Absolutely true. Look.
Oh my word.
Donald Trump sleeps about 5 hours a day. And
Yeah,
to me,
it's
that's
pretty incredible,
remarkable.
this guy.
I do about 6.5, and I run pretty well. But 5, you know this, I don't function well at 5.
Yeah, no, it's
most people don't, but the president does, and he's up
it's
all the
just-
time
he's
working.
built that way.
Yeah, he
You know?
flies around the world, lands wherever, and he's ready to go. And he goes these marathon meetings and conversations and negotiations. And can you imagine the pressure that he's under? And he'll be 80 on the 14th of June, Flag Day.
Hey, I'm hoping to have that kind of cognition and great health at 80.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I want to go back to the Trump RX, which
All right.
you had said saves you a tremendous amount of money. But the platform is reportedly showing 70 to 90% discounts on list prices. And they're doing this by providing manufacturer discount programs, direct to consumer drug purchasing programs, and pharmacy coupons. And so because we don't carry health insurance like a lot of other people do, we find that our doctor does this really well. She'll send us discount coupons, and something that might cost $150, like with insurance, now costs $25.
Right.
So
This is
there's
a
so
tremendous
many-
help.
It's a tremendous help, but there are also other ways. Like if you're clever about your purchases of things that you need in pharmaceuticals, you can get pretty great discounts out there. But this is also another great program. But it is so uninsured patients. If you're an uninsured patient out there and you need some medications that are cheap, go check this out. If you want to pay cash, pay less. Or if you have a high deductible insurance plan, these are all reasons to go check this Trump RX program out, because you could be saving some money. Even if you have insurance, go check it out.
And for people, and I know millions of people that are on fixed incomes, this is a lifeline to save piles of money. If you're on
70
a
to
tight,
90% on.
Hello.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest about this. And the Democrats, will they give him one grain of saying, hey, you did the right thing? One
no.
grain of, hey, you know what? That's a good thing.
They won't do that.
It's sick.
It is sick. Did you also see that the Supreme Court cleared Alabama to use the GOP-friendly congressional maps?
I missed that.
Yeah, so they ruled that they can move forward with this. So,
Well, of course, you see, Alabama, I didn't know that, but I know the backstory. Alabama in 2021 and 2023 put forth new congressional districts that were stopped by a federal appeals court saying, well, you can't do that.
That's right.
But with the Supreme Court decision, Louisiana v. Calais,
Right.
you cannot use race as a basis for congressional districts. And so therefore, Alabama's saying, you can't force us to use unconstitutional districts. I didn't see that come down. But of course, it's been a busy day with everything going on in California and everything else.
So do you have a quick minute to tell me about that? Wasn't the guy who was in second place actually a Republican against Karen Bass in the mayoral race?
Yeah, he is. Spencer Pratt. He's in it now because she didn't. Well, here's the thing. They've got a lot of mail-in ballots still incoming, but she's only at about 36%. I don't think she reaches 50%, even as they rig the system. So there will be a general election showdown come November for the mayor of Los Angeles. Karen Bass in real trouble. So that's going to be fun.
Interesting.
Good stuff, Ivy. Good stuff. Love you. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, still to come this morning, and I don't want you to miss this one. Josh Sider's coming up at the bottom of the hour. And he's a guy who will dress in certain ways and act in certain ways to get those on the left to make admissions and then get them caught in a corner. It's very entertaining. You don't want to miss that. But first, let's talk about your good health. Nicholas Holscher is an epidemiologist and administrator for the McCullough Foundation. He joins me now. Sir, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Keep reading more about this study about ivermectin and mebendazole. It was published in the prestigious Anti-Cancer Research Journal, and people need to know about this peer-reviewed, and this is a peer-reviewed publication, so if you have any questions, look. These are doctors that get together, they look at each other's research, they say, wow, this is really something. And when it comes to cancer research and these drugs, what they have found is really important and really impressive. Your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. This is absolutely huge. It's finally peer-reviewed and published. In fact, when you type in ivermectin and mebendazole for cancer, it's currently the #1 hit on Google, so it's easy to find. But what this signifies is it's finally breaking through into the mainstream that these antiparasitics have a large clinical benefit signal for cancer. And just briefly, what we found was, everybody's seen Mel Gibson on Joe Rogan, and Mel Gibson was not lying to Joe Rogan when he said that 3 of his friends, their cancers disappeared taking ivermectin. Well, in our study, 84% of the 200 cancer patients reported either their cancers disappeared, their tumors shrank, or their cancers stabilized.
Yeah, in talking to people like Dr. Peter McCullough from the Wellness Company, I've learned that parasites and cancer cells, when it comes to getting energy and surviving off the body, they operate in similar fashions, and that's pretty important. This was an observational study, all right? And I want you to explain to our viewers what that actually means.
What this means is we basically observed a population of individuals just operating in their daily lives. So it's called the real world study where, so for example, they have multiple different cancer types. They're taking multiple other supplements. Some of them are undergoing conventional treatment. Some of them had surgery. Some of them had chemo. So this is what you would see in real life. And so this can tell you how does the ivermectin and mebendazole apply in real world situations. And so that's a very important type of study. It's not a clinical trial where you simply just isolate the drug, but this is a different type of study that provides different sort of information. But it's very important to understand how these drugs apply in real world settings, not just in a clinical trial controlled environment.
Let me follow up on that, Nicholas, because this is important. Does the fact that it's a human observational study make it more likely to reflect on real world applications out here of antiparasitics like ivermectin and what they would do if you were battling cancer? Is it more applicable?
Yeah, it's applicable to a much broader range of cancer patients because, at least in our paper, there was over 15 different types of cancers, and they were doing all sorts of different things, all different ages. There was a large age range of about 20 years. You had some 40-year-olds, you had some 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds. And so this can apply to a much broader range of people than just, one small age group and one super rare cancer in a clinical trial. Now, clinical trials are still very important to truly assess efficacy, which we couldn't do in our study. But what we could do was say, listen, there is literally a giant clinical benefit signal in this real world population. And so now we need to do those large scale clinical trials, but they do cost tens to hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. Now this is my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the largest peer-reviewed study of ivermectin and mebendazole in the treatment of cancer ever. Is that correct?
That's correct. The next ones, there's about 10 patients or less in most of these others. Some were small clinical trials with like 6-7 patients. Some were case series. So yeah, we had about 200. And so, yeah, it is officially the largest ivermectin for cancer study, as well as the combination of ivermectin and mebendazole for cancer. Nobody's really done the combination at all. And so it's very promising. And we're going to get even larger sample sizes soon. We have that plan. We'll get up to 1,000 patients next time.
Yeah. All right. So for viewers who are interested in learning more about ivermectin and mebendazole, why wouldn't you be? And its potential application in cancer treatment, what do you recommend, Nicholas?
Yeah, well, twc.health/cancer, you'll see the exact product that was used in these patients by the wellness company. And you can also read the study literally just by typing in on Google, ivermectin and mebendazole for cancer. You'll see our study in anti-cancer research and on pubmed.gov.
Nicholas, it is fascinating research, important research, to say the least. I appreciate you being here and sharing all that information, sir.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And if you want to know more, twc.health/Gruber, twc.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You will save 10%. In case you missed it, yesterday, Bill Pulte will be the acting DNI. Tulsi Gabbard out earlier than expected. And look, if you missed the interview in the first hour with Joe Kent, a guy who is not a fan of President Trump, was in that office with Tulsi. Speculation and sources telling me that the reason she was pushed out connects to Joe Kent and the activities inside that office using high-tech techniques against American citizens, potentially. I believe an indictment is coming against Joe Kent. That's what the sources tell me. It's not a lock, but keep an eye on it. And when it does happen, remember that Joe Kent said, I did nothing wrong. What do they all say? All right. Josh Sider still on the way. You don't want to miss this one. Very entertaining coming up. If you love hearing stories that shape this country every day, but you don't hear about everywhere, you don't want to miss the newest episode of Forgotten America with myself and Ivy. This Monday, this is a hard-hitting interview you don't want to miss. Dr. Robert Malone. It's a fascinating conversation about all these ticks that are everywhere. And where did Lyme disease come from? Cold War biodefense programs, military tick research, Plum Island and the government records that continue to raise questions decades later. Why was Lyme, Connecticut, the epicenter of all this? Where does documented history end and speculation begin? Well, Dr. Robert Malone, we break it down. This is compelling. It comes out Monday at 9 o'clock on YouTube. Look up Steve Gruber. Go to Forgotten America, the podcast. You don't want to miss this. Here is a preview.
The secretary shared with me that he is communicating regularly with Pete Hegseth, and that Hegseth had agreed in principle to declassify the classified military intelligence beyond what's in the CIA reading room concerning the biowarfare program that existed for Lyme disease and tick-based transmission. And this all predates the biowarfare convention. So just to be clear.
So hold on. Just so I'm clear on what you're saying here. You're saying this was something that was studied, manipulated potentially, and created by the government.
So absolutely.
Absolutely. Boy, you don't want to miss this conversation coming up Monday, 9 a.m. for God America with Dr. Robert Malone. It's quite something. Well, for the first time since World War II, our national debt has, held by the public, exceeded our GDP. America, this is a wake-up call. Our sins of the past, reckless government spending, have caught up with us from what's next. Higher inflation, higher prices, higher cost, all of it. You need to have some money in smart places like diversification in a time-tested asset known as physical gold. You can get it from my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. All you need to do is text the word America to the number 989898. Birch Gold is going to send you a free information kit on converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. You don't pull the ripcord on your parachute once you've hit the ground. Don't wait until it's too late. Text America to the number 989898. Again, text America to 989898. Own some gold from Birch Gold. Josh Sider, straight ahead. All right, welcome back to it. You know, to expose people for who they are, sometimes you have to kind of go about it differently. Kind of make it look like you agree with them and lure them out of their darkness and then say, bam, gotcha. Josh Sider is a political satirist, a guy who has become very popular on social media, to say the very least, by doing those very things. Josh, good morning.
Hey, thanks for having me, Steve. I appreciate it.
All right, so let's do a little backstory. Then I'm going to share, for anybody who's not familiar with your work, I'm going to share a couple of clips here this morning. But give me the backstory of who you are and how you ended up going down this lane, which turned out to be, like I said, very popular.
Well, I'm just a common sense American that got fed up with the lunacy I was seeing everywhere. I felt like I was living in a clown show ever since the lockdowns. And I finally decided in 2024 to do something about it and expose the left for how hypocritical and ridiculous they were. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to hold a mirror up to this movement. And if they can see how asinine they look, maybe they'll actually understand where we're coming from. And that's when I invented these characters like the trans-indigenous and transracial person.
Well, what do you do normally? What's your day job, or has this become your day job?
Well, because of the success of it and my popularity, it has become my full-time job. So this is what I do 24/7. I go to protests, I go to events, and I try to hold a mirror up to the left and show people how crazy this country's become.
All right, Josh. So for anybody, and you take on the big issues, abortion, open borders, transgenderism, whatever's hot, you'll go there. No kings protests. You're right there front and center doing what you do very well. And I want to share with the folks here one of the videos so they have a really good understanding of who you are. Go ahead, Anthony, roll it.
I'm with the ASPCA, and we're just going door to door in the neighborhood asking people if they'd be willing to commit to a monthly donation.
Okay, maybe.
Okay, if I told you a little bit more about where your money would go, would that make you feel better?
Yes, it probably would.
Okay, so I'm with the Animal Rights Division, or the TARDS, and we're in charge of all of the health care for the animals that we serve. So 100% of your money would go to their health care.
Okay.
Is that something you might feel comfortable with?
Yeah, I probably would.
Okay, if you could just put your name here, an email address, and then where it says regarding or RE, just put TARDS. Okay. And so our biggest healthcare dilemma this year for the TARDS is there's just too many pups. So 100% of your money would go to help with the abortions of unwanted puppies.
Wait, what?
Yeah, to abort the unwanted pups, because there's just so many young puppies. It's basically pups having pups, and they can't afford to raise their litter, and it's just a financial burden. So what we do is we help with aborting unwanted puppies.
Oh, well, no. I'm not comfortable with that.
Okay, is that your black sedan out front with the bumper stickers?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you understand that abortion's health care?
Well, yes, but it's not. That bumper sticker isn't about animals.
What's it about?
It's about people.
Okay, so are you saying that a human baby in a womb is not worth as much as a pup in the womb?
No.
It's worth the same, right? So if it's
yes.
not okay to abort puppies, then it shouldn't be okay to do that to humans. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so abortion's
Yes.
not health care?
Well, I think no. I don't want to donate. I need to go. I need to go inside.
So,
Josh, you play these people like a fiddle, and I just look. I don't know how. Do you really just walk down the street, see a bumper sticker, and say, "Here's one that's ripe for picking"? Is that how you do it?
I do. I live in Chicago, which is very woke, so these things are a dime a dozen. I mean, I can literally walk out of my house, go a few blocks, and you'll see a million of them. So it's very easy where I'm at in Chicago. So I guess I'm blessed in that respect that I'm in a woke city. But look, it's sad. It's an indictment on the mental acuity of the people that live in this country and how shallow the intellectual waters are. And it's really sad that I have to do this to show people the fallacy of their thinking. And so even though it makes for great content and it's humorous, I think it's also sad. And it's a tragedy that this is the world we live in. But like Charlie Kirk taught, I hope that we can have open dialogue, and the more open dialogue we have in the free marketplace of ideas, Steve, I hope the truth will start to come back, common sense will start to come back, and we will go back to being grounded in truth and reality.
Well, I hope you're right. I mean, I look at that woman. I didn't see her, but I listened to her, and here she is saying that abortion is health care, but not for puppies. I mean, it is so absurd that they won't abort a puppy, right? But they'll abort a human being. And do you wonder, do you get through to these people ever? Do you ever feel like I've had a success today, or is it they just kind of fall back into their mental? Well, it's a shallow pool, like you said. I think it's a shallow cesspool, to be honest with you. Do they just fall right back into it?
You know what? I see a little bit of lucidity come into their eyes sometimes when they're talking. We're all going to see a clip of me dressed up as a trans indigenous man that was assigned the wrong skin at birth. And that individual, whose name is Chad, I think the wheels started turning in his head. So usually, Steve, you can see the cognitive dissonance playing out. You can see them trying to wrestle with the mental gymnastics that come with having the flawed premise that they do, such as men can be women. And so I see that light kind of start to shine, but then they push it out because they are, at the end of the day, in a cult. So it is very hard, Steve, but I think a little flicker of light does come occasionally.
All right, so you grew up in Chicago. How old are you?
I am 38.
All right, you're 38 years old. So you came through school a lot later than I did, and you probably saw the expansion of the secular state that came in with communism and socialism and woke nonsense. You were probably seeing the birth of wokeism when you were coming through the public schools. I mean, I don't think there's anything more guilty of programming these people than public schools, but what do you think?
Well, Steve, that's a great question. I am the product of exactly that. I actually was homeschooled my entire life, as were my two older brothers, because in 1989, my parents pulled my brothers out of public school because they were already being sent home with what my parents thought was weird, woke material. And so they pulled my brothers out, and we were all homeschooled until college. So I think it is precisely because I was yanked out of that parasitic mindset that has been infecting the public schools that I'm able to do what I did today. And I had two born again Christian conservative parents who had focus on the family, Christianity as their guide and their moral playbook, and that is how they raised us. And I think that's why I believe so strongly in a certain set of values. And that is why I'm able to go out there and kind of combat this, as you said, mental cesspool that did infect our public schools in the minds of all of the people that I interact with.
Yeah, it's also why the left is in a full-blown panic and fighting every step of the way when it comes to homeschooling, which, by the way, exploded during COVID, for anybody who doesn't know. They don't want people like you, Josh. Silence! Sit down, silence! That's what they want from you. Just sit down, shut up, and listen to what we're feeding you. All right, we're going to take a break. I'm going to share that video that Josh just alluded to coming up in a moment because, and these videos will tell you how you can find them because they are worth your time today. All right, you can email me, stevegruber.com, anytime you want. Follow us on all the social media platforms. And don't forget the new podcast dropping Monday morning at 9 a.m. with Dr. Robert Malone. Back with Josh Sider after this. All right, jumping back in with Josh Sider. A guy who just couldn't resist poking fun at all the stupidity surrounding him in the city of Chicago. I mean, Brandon Johnson provides material pretty much daily for you, Josh, but I want to share with the folks another quick video here because it's one of my favorites. I'm not going to kid you, and I've watched your material for a while. Anthony, go ahead and roll that one.
I'm trans-indigenous.
Trans-indigenous.
Are you cis-American? I'm trans-indigenous for ICE. We love ICE.
We love ICE.
We love ICE. We love ICE. To deport them all. You're all trespassers on our land.
Well,
trans-indigenous people are indigenous people, and you're all trespassers on our land, and we want Bovino to deport all of you guys. We love ICE. Trans natives love ICE. We love you, ICE.
What nation are
we
you
love
from?
ICE. The trans nation. Trans nation is just as valid as cis nations. You're not trans native phobic, are you?
No, but I'm
okay.
not
I'm just
familiar with
checking.
that term. I'm hoping you could.
You're a cis-American. I'm trans-indigenous. You really need to check your privilege because you're talking to a beautiful trans-indigenous person of color right now.
I believe that I am, and I'm hoping to learn more about your person.
I'll educate you because you're cis-pigmented and I'm trans-pigmented, and I'm trying to educate you.
Trans-native phobic. I mean, you're quick on your feet. I give you that. And you respond to these people. They don't know what to do. They're gobsmacked. They're like, tell me about that event.
You can kind of see their brains melting. So they were protesting Greg Bovino, who was the commander of Border Patrol at the time. And, you know, they're obviously claiming that what he's doing is xenophobic and racist, when in reality, all he's doing is enforcing our laws like any first world country would do, and protecting our national security. And so I just said, you know what? I want to show them how ridiculous it sounds when a man claims to be a woman. And so I said, maybe if I throw on an Indian headdress and say I was assigned the wrong skin pigmentation at birth, they will understand how stupid all of this sounds. And I think Greg was slowly starting to understand what I was doing.
So you might make some headway some places, but yeah, we talk about it being a cult. We talk about it being mental illness. And maybe there's a close relationship between those two concepts because, look, some of these folks, they don't have a defensible position. There's no logic. There's no reason. There's no justifiable defense for some of these positions. We're enforcing the laws. How do you do that on stolen land? Which is the point you're making there, right? George Carlin did these things exactly like you are, ripped on how dumb people are and how they trust the government or everything else. Do you see yourself kind of in that vein, or where are you going with all of this?
Well, that's a great question. I think political satire and comedy in general is a very effective tool. And I think what you can get in a 30 to 45 second clip can do a lot to kind of change people's minds or persuade them and show them the truth of something. And so what I do is I use reductio ad absurdum, which is I just take a premise from the left and I draw it out to its logical or illogical conclusion to show how absurd and ridiculous it is. And I think that it is very effective. And I think using satire, especially with the advent of social media and the explosion of Instagram and X, is becoming more and more effective and popular. And so I would say that, you know, I'm in the vein of a comedian, maybe like George Carlin, or just anyone using satire.
Yeah.
And whatever I have to do, if I have to dress up and throw on an Indian headdress to show people how utterly stupid they are, and that's more effective than trying to debate these people, then I'm going to do it. And I think it is more effective because, as you said, these people are mentally ill. They're in a cult, and you can't really have a logical discussion with these people. And so I think conservatives are realizing that sometimes it's better to just lampoon and mock these people than it is to try to have a logical discussion with people that are inherently illogical.
Well, Josh, you make a good point. I mean, George Carlin or Sam Kinison or whoever was willing to go anywhere and say anything about, you know, whomever. But one of the first casualties of this wokeness were the comedians. You can't go find a good comedian on a college campus anymore because this group's offended and that group's upset and this person. Look, it's their job to insult people, whether you're transgender or you're of a different race or you're fat or whatever it is. You know, body shaming. I mean, that's part of the gig. That is the gig of being a comedian. And God bless you for having the intellect and the courage, frankly. I'm guessing your inbox is kind of interesting. Do you get death threats and so forth?
I get all of that. I get death threats. My inbox is exploding. Rob Schneider just reached out to me the other day and told me he wants to work with me on a new sitcom that he's developing. So very exciting stuff. I have a lot going on with it. But look, I went to law school. I have a Juris Doctor, and it is because of my respect and understanding of law and the First Amendment that I am so passionate about protecting it. And as you said, at its core, what the left is doing is at odds with our First Amendment rights. And it's had a chilling effect on people like comedians and anyone trying to speak the truth. And they are trying to silence people with this kind of omerta that you are not allowed to talk about anything that we find offensive. There is nothing in the law, nothing in the Constitution or Declaration of Independence that says you have a right to not be offended. And that is how the left operates. So it is my love for the First Amendment that has me doing this, because I agree with you, Steve. What they're doing is they're trying to chill our free speech.
Yep.
And, you know, if they get back in power and someone else like Biden gets in power, I won't be able to make comedy anymore. And like you said, the quality of work of our comedians has gone down because now they're not allowed to say anything. And it's really sad.
We got about 20 seconds. Tell folks where they can find you real quick, Josh.
They can find me on Instagram at Josh Sider Official and on X at Josh Sider.
Josh, keep giving them hell, because you entertain me and a whole lot of other folks, and we appreciate what you're doing because it's necessary. God bless America, Josh. Thank you. All right. Tell me what you think. I love that guy. I do. Rob Schneider's also been on the program here. I love that guy. Comedy is important in America. We'll be right back. All right, let's check it out. Sports with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. Tomas Hertl scored with 3:24 left in regulation to give the Vegas Golden Knights a 5-4 victory over the Carolina Hurricanes to take Game 1 of the NHL Stanley Cup Final last night in Raleigh, North Carolina. Shea Theodore had a goal and 2 assists for Vegas. Nikolai Ehlers had a pair of goals for the Hurricanes. Game 2 tomorrow night in Carolina. In Major League Baseball, a full schedule. American League winners included Baltimore, Detroit, and the Athletics. National League winners included Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Colorado. At the French Open in Paris, men's second seed Alexander Zverev and 26th-seeded Jakub Mensik both advanced to the semifinals. On the women's side, 8th-seeded Mira Andreeva and 15th-seeded Marta Kostyuk both won to move on to the semis. The rest of the quarterfinals are today in Paris. And in the NFL, the Atlanta Falcons gave wide receiver Drake London a 4-year contract extension worth $140 million. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. Again, send me your comments. Look forward to hearing from you on all of the people we've had on today. Joe Kent, no, people don't like him much, but you need to hear from all sides. Josh Sider, people love him because he's very entertaining and he takes it right to them. Here's the mirror. Look at it. See who you are. Good stuff. Did you know that your immune system, 70% of it lives in your gut? Many people have an imbalance without realizing it. Some probiotics may help prevent and manage some diseases, support intestinal health, boost immune function, and aid in cancer prevention. Longevity contains a whopping 2 billion CFUs of probiotics in every serving. Longevity is a complete nutritional support that gives you everything you need to age well. We use it every day here at Camp Gruber. Go to longevitywellness.co, enter the promo code Gruber at checkout for a special discount. If you become a subscriber and have it coming monthly, you'll save even more money. Longevitywellness.co, special discount code is Gruber. Good to have you here. Coming up in the next hour, Ivy will be back, of course. Ron Rademacher will be here. And Perry Johnson running for governor in Michigan. He hates the kill switch in your car. We're going to talk about that coming up next hour on Daybreak.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now.
All right, welcome to it as we get back into it in another hour here of the program. Glad to have you here, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. We are on the relentless pursuit of truth here every day. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Abdul El Sayed. He calls himself doctor, but, well, the Center to Advance Security in America says that's not actually true. Number two, the price of oil creeping back up as we continue to watch for a solution in Iran, but none has presented itself. And number three, let's see here. We've got some results from the primaries. The big ones in California. Spencer Pratt and Karen Bass, no clear winner in the race to be the Los Angeles mayor. Okay. Bass was at 36%, creeped up to 38%, but like a third of the ballots are still out. A third. And that's how they do it in California. Wait to see how many votes they need and then go manufacture them. But Bass in real trouble of not reaching that 50% threshold, which means most likely there will be a runoff in November to see who is the new LA mayor. Spencer Pratt really making inroads as a Republican or an independent. His house, one of those that burned in the massive wildfires. Not rebuilt, of course, because you can't build anything in California without 27 permits over 27 years. Meanwhile, in the race for governor, Republican Steve Hilton came in first place, but that doesn't mean much. It's a jungle primary. Hilton will advance to the general election, as will Xavier Becerra, former member of the Biden administration. Becerra most likely to be the next governor of California. Tom Steyer spending millions and millions and millions of dollars again to lose again. Does he ever learn? I mean, this guy wastes more money running for office than anybody I've ever seen. We'll keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, it is Pride Month. You've probably heard this because they ram it down your throat. Pride Month, pride flags, pride, pride, pride. Look. Yeah, like that. Pride Month. But here's a bar owner that I found on social media celebrating Hetero Awesomeness Month. Hetero Awesomeness Month. Well, just listen to him.
Hey, my name is Mark Fitzpatrick, owner of Old State Saloon in Eagle, Idaho. Our saloon has become the heterosexual headquarters. We launched Heterosexual Awesomeness Month for June. Monday is Heterosexual Male Monday, and if you're a heterosexual male and you come in here, you get a beer for free. There's no strings attached. We'll call it Beers for Breeders. On Wednesdays, if you're a heterosexual couple, you get 15% off your entire bill. And on Thursdays, all day is Her Hetero Happy Hour. So heterosexual awesomeness is basically an opportunity to celebrate God's design for man and woman and that sexual attraction between them. I think that this country is ready to stand up and say, hey, enough is enough.
Beer for Breeders. I'm sorry. That strikes me as funny. Anyhow, everybody gets their own month except straight white people, apparently. Anyhow, so it is. Speaking of people that are, overly sexualized, how about that? How about Graham Plattner in Maine? Yeah, this guy. He's on a platform called Kik, K-I-K. It's a hookup app. The majority of the people are age 13 to 24. What is he, 40? 45? Yeah, he's in there. He was sexting with numerous women, maybe a dozen, right after he got married. His wife thinks it's okay, by the way. Thinks it's unfortunate people are picking on him for this. But Graham Plattner also is the guy that was sporting the Nazi prison guard tattoo for 18 years. Knew exactly what it was. Knew what it was since 2019 at least. He got it back in 2012, I believe, or something like that. Or I guess earlier than that. Doesn't matter. Democrats are in a full-blown panic as Graham Plattner continues to be a drag on the entire machine. In fact, CNN says it is increasing the odds Republicans will retain the United States Senate come November. Here it is.
really any path to taking the Senate goes through Maine.
Yeah.
So what are we seeing about the chances of taking the Senate right now?
Yeah, if you take a look, the chance of getting the Senate right now, you go back 2 months ago, it was about a 50-50 split, right? Now Republicans, again, it's close, but Republicans are now slightly favored to take back the Senate, no doubt in part because of what is going on in Maine, which just makes that path, which was already difficult, a little bit more treacherous.
This feels like a Plattner tax right now in those overall stances to take the Senate.
It is a Plattner tax, +7 for the Republicans, -7 for the Democrats, a 14-point lead, 57-43. You do the math, there it is. But so desperate for power are they? These people that talk about Donald Trump being a Nazi on a daily basis are willing to support a guy who had an actual Nazi tattoo for almost 20 years on his chest. He'd see it when he got out of the shower. He'd see it when he looked in the mirror. People would see it when he walked down the beach or wherever he was, sporting an actual Nazi guard tattoo on his chest, a big one.
It was what was it? It was a swastika or what?
No, it has a name. You can look it up real quick. It has a name. But it's what all the concentration guards had, apparently, during World War II. The Nazi concentration camp guards had this thing. It's a German name for this thing. No, if he had a swastika, people understand that one, but I think they would still not care because Democrats are so desperate for power that they will continue to support this guy like Senator Ed Markey, who says, I'm still with him. Listen to this.
I also want to ask you about embattled Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner. Two sources tell MS Now he is in D.C. today to meet with Senate Democrats. It comes amid this new controversy, the reports that he sent sexually explicit messages to multiple women while he was married, and he's still married. Are you planning to meet with him today, and do you support his campaign at this point?
Yeah, I don't have any plans today, but I do know that he is campaigning on healthcare costs, on food costs, on gasoline costs, on the impact that Trump economic policies are having upon the lives of people who live in Maine. And that is the issue which American voters, Maine voters, are going to want to have the focus on for the rest of this year. And he is putting those issues front and center for the voters to see every single day.
Yeah, it's called a Totenkopf. It's called a Totenkopf. I don't know if you looked that up, Anthony. That's what it's called. And not only did the guards wear them, but the SS officers wore them as well. I got a crown last night sleeping, so proud of myself. Or maybe I'm just proud of Ghost Bed. We've had these things around for about 4 months now, the Ghost Bed, American-made mattress system. It's a sleep system. Look, you're supposed to heal when you sleep. Apparently I am, because the Ring keeps telling me what a great job, gives me attaboys every morning. It really has changed everything. It's made in America, is the Ghost Bed. You'll sleep like you've never slept before. Cooling technology, comfort technology. You can have a bed that'll sit up so you can read. It's remarkable. And you can try it for 101 days risk-free. 101 days risk-free. And right now we're offering the best price of the year on the Ghost Bed. And you as a listener will save even more money, 10% more off the price. Go to ghostbed.com. Promo code is Gruber. Ghostbed.com, promo code Gruber. And you're going to save a bunch of money. And I want you to send me an email and tell me if you love it like we do. I'll be back. let's jump right back into it with our good friend and a guy who roams around the woods looking for free beer, morel mushrooms, and a burger now and then. Ron Rademacher's with us. Ron, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I am lovely. Thank you so much for asking. And you?
I am great, and I'll tell you, my day was made better today
Okay.
by an interview that you did with this guy named Joe Kent. Is that the right name?
Yeah, Joe Kent. Yeah.
I'd never heard of this guy, but I really appreciated that because, and I'll tell you why. Because for me, it's important to regularly review my own opinions, and in order to do that, you've got to hear the other side. I listen to a little bit of CNN every day. I try to look at MS now a little bit, just to hear how the other side thinks. Because honestly, if you don't realize these people actually believe some of this stuff. So it was I was really, really pleased that you, every now and then you do that. You bring one of these folks on. I just want you to know, I appreciate it.
Well, some people do. Some people go, they act like conservative Karens. Just so you know.
Conservative Karen. Gee, you are hot today. Let me tell you, that's another good one.
Yeah, there you go.
This guy is strong today, yeah. So, another shout out, which I don't know if it made it to your cheat sheet or not. I forgot to send it. I will be presenting Oddities and Rarities at the Chelsea District Library on the 9th.
All right.
So a big shout out to the library for having me in. That's always a good show. Some really cool, unusual, forgotten Michigan history. So stop by and say hello.
That sounds good. I love the city of Chelsea, by the way. Lovely place.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful town.
Yep, sure is.
So speaking of beauty, let's go to the Upper Peninsula. We got the Lilac Festival continues at Mackinac Island. And for you birders, it's not just the lilacs. They have a lot of events in this 2-week festival. And they have the warblers have their birding adventure coming up this weekend. So if you're a birder, be sure to take your notebooks with you, your binoculars, your cameras. You're going to be able to see some unusual species that stop this time of year on the island.
Yeah, I'm going back and looking for a video that I found yesterday, because there was this kid in front of the school doing his, and I just found, I'm going to send it to you, Ron. This kid, he's got to be about 10, right? And he's doing bird sounds. Dude, it's remarkable. Every bird you can imagine, this kid could mimic perfectly. Hawks, robins, warblers, geese, crows, didn't matter. I'm going to send you that video, Ron. It was really awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Maybe it'll help me up the next time I'm on a piping plover hunt.
It just might.
He's into the blind, Hey, listen, we got something else up here in the Upper Peninsula. Copper Harbor, the Big Boy Bike Clinic. Now, I have to read this quote from their announcement. It says, if you identify as a man and love hitting the trails on your mountain bike, this clinic is perfect for you. So if I understand the language as it is now, I'm going to have to get a hold of Charlie and the boys up in NEMA and find out when the Upper Peninsula went woke, because that sounds woke to me.
Okay.
If you identify as a man, what else would I identify as? An adventurer, explorer?
We'll let the audience vote.
Yeah, I just wonder who. I can't wait to see the results of that poll.
How should Ron identify everybody?
Yeah,
send us a note. Yeah, there you go.
Please run that on SurveyMonkey and let's see what comes back. That'd be a good one. So there's a lot more going on. Let me get to it here. We got Charlevoix has National Donut Day out at the Frisky Farm Market. I'm not sure if Bob Barkham has his donuts at that, but if you've never been to the Frisky Farm Market, that place is gigantic, and they got so much stuff for kids. It's become a major destination, and so they got the donuts.
All right.
And Hamtramck, this is in my what could go wrong category.
I can see why.
And at the East Loggers and Nails, they're having a beer and candle making event. So, like I say, what could go wrong? And if you can't get to that one, you also have one of these going on in Wixom the same weekend. But anytime you can go to Hamtramck, you have to go, because that's where the Polish Village Cafe is. and I will go back to that place every chance I get. So it's kind of like the Clydes of the South. You know, they don't have Clyde's burger, but they got the pierogies, baby. They got the chicken livers. They got the duck blood soup, if you recall. Got to get back there.
Yeah, love that.
Perfect. Same part of the state, Milford. This is the 17th annual International Kite Festival. So, and that includes another birding photography tour, which you can take during that event. Port Huron has their Blue Water Sturgeon Festival.
I like that.
Steve, they have your favorite. The Gizzard Fest is this weekend. I know you want to get back there and see your buddy with the hairdo.
You know, that's where I was when a call came in from the angels above, and Ivy called me for the first time. I was stranded in Potterville, Michigan at Gizzard Fest. I'll tell you the story someday when we're making candles and drinking beer.
Yeah, I would like to hear that. Yeah. Owasso, the Kerwood Festival, the Kerwood Castle will be open this weekend. And the World Tour with myself, Helga, Bob the Turtle, will be in Imlay City for the Michigan Lavender Festival, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's a good time at the Eastern Michigan State Fairgrounds. That's a good time.
I got a few seconds here. I have to do a shout out here because I know on occasion you find yourself in Boyne City, Michigan, as I do on occasion. Best duck I have ever had was presented to me at the Sante, the cafe down in the water. My God. It was presented in this little 10-inch little Dutch oven deal. I'm telling you, if you ever get the chance, it was remarkable. Anyhow.
Well, I'll make it a point because I want to get back to the Boyne City Grill, obviously, for the
great
burger.
Place, great burger.
Yeah,
all right, Michigan
Cafe
Backroads.
Cafe Sante used to have some great lobster croûte. Oh my God, it was so good. But I will try that duck.
MichiganBackroads.com, MichiganBackroads.com. Get your festival promoted and invite Ron over for a free beer. He'll be there.
There you go.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Steve. Try to keep out of trouble now.
You know, I should have pulled the video, and I didn't, so I left Anthony unable to scramble for it. But that kid doing the bird calls that I was mentioning, wow. Just wow. And he can't be very old, 10 maybe? Like 5th grade type, maybe 12. He is just, got to post it to social media. And then you can hear this kid. And he pulls out stuffed animals out of a box and says, well, this bird, and he says you what the bird is, then he makes this sound, and it's just really incredible. Just really remarkable. Anyhow, Abdul El Sayed, Senate candidate in Michigan, under fire for misrepresenting himself as a doctor during campaign appearances. The Center to Advance Security in America, CASA, filing a complaint with the Michigan Bureau of Professional Licensing, arguing that a review of Michigan and New York State medical records show the Democratic candidate has never been granted a medical license in either state. Speaking exclusively to Michigan News Source, CASA Director James Fitzpatrick said the facts uncovered El Sayed's misrepresentation. Public reporting shows that El Sayed has never been granted a medical license in either New York or Michigan. Given the confusion and the potential for the deception of Michigan residents, we are requesting a full investigation by the Michigan Bureau of Professional Licensing. Any representation that may have the public believe that El Sayed is a licensed to practice medicine should be closely examined. And according to Michigan law, Section 333.16261, an individual who is not licensed or registered under this article shall not use an insignia, title, or letter, or a word letter or phrase singly or in combination with or without qualifying words, letters, or phrases under a circumstance to induce the belief that that person is licensed or registered in the state, is lawfully entitled in the state to engage in the practice of health profession regulated by this article, or is otherwise in compliance with this article. So he's breaking the law. Calling himself doctor is illegal. We'll see if he comes out on top anyway. Haley Stevens seems to be leading in the latest polling. It'll do. It'll all do. Coming up, Perry Johnson running for governor in Michigan. He hates the kill switch almost as much as I do in the new cars. We'll tell you about it after this. All right, so we've talked about these, I call them the God switch, but there are these kill switches on your car. They're mandatory under the 2021 infrastructure law signed in by Joe Biden. And it means by 2027, these cars will monitor everything you do. And Ford Motor Company, quick to patent the ability to read your lips, watch your eyes, check your biometrics, and shut the car off if for any reason the vehicle doesn't think you're capable of driving. My next guest doesn't seem to like that any more than I do. Perry Johnson running for governor in Michigan. Perry, welcome back to the program.
Well, delighted to be back, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Look, we're getting all too comfortable, and I mean this country at large, with flock cameras, cameras on every store. I mean, you walk down a street in any city of any size, you're on a number of cameras every moment of every day. And now they want to control our cars and monitor us further. Oh, and by the way, after they monitor us in our cars, they want to be able to sell us stuff. Tell me your thoughts.
Well, as you know, the kill switch is, in my opinion, anti-American because it takes away your freedom. The impact of this kill switch is enormous because we have a situation right now where for any reason, you could have a lender, you could have somebody that wants to repossess your car, you could have the government, you could have any let's say the manufacturer or the dealership just literally shut off your car and you could be anywhere. You could be in a dangerous area, you could be totally isolated, you could be in a position where you don't even know what you're going to do. But the whole idea is very, very simple. America was founded on the principle of freedom. That's the foundation of our country. And you start taking away people's freedoms, and you're starting taking away the entire heart of America. And that's why, to me, this is probably one of the most devastating bills that was ever passed. That portion was terrible. We had a chance to kill it. But the reason that I was so upset is we didn't have any Republicans against it, against killing it. Every single one wanted to kill it except for John James. And that's why, to me, the Democrats moved in that direction, but I didn't expect Republicans to move in that direction at all.
Yeah.
And they didn't, except John. That, to me, is just not American.
Obviously, John James, one of your opponents in the primary, the Republican primary, to be the candidate for governor in Michigan. And you missed one other group that could be watching all the information coming out of your car. That's the insurance company. Oh, the insurance company. Oh, Mr. Gruber, you were 10 miles over. You were doing 55 and a 45. We're going to raise your rates.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yes, that's right. They can control anything. 1984 was written by Orwell, Big Brother, and now we are in the Big Brother age. But we wouldn't expect to have something like the kill switch where they can even control freedom of travel. That's not for the United States. China, yes, but not the U.S. I mean, we have freedom of travel here. We're supposed to.
Let me ask you about this,
in China,
Perry.
you don't have freedom of travel.
No, you don't. And in Massachusetts, there's a commission being put together to determine how much gasoline every citizen is allowed to use. So this is happening across the country. But let me ask you, in this age of surveillance, which is what it is, surveil us all the time, even the appliances in our house, my smartphone, my television, my laptop, my toaster, for all I know, is checking up on me every day, and that's concerning to me. And then I make this leap of faith, Perry, that all these AI data centers are not for the betterment of America. They're not for the betterment of me, but they're to correlate all the things and all the data points they have on you, me, and everybody else. Am I paranoid, or is there something to that?
Well, you have to be concerned about AI. And I'm going to give you just one example of why AI is so devastating in many areas. They are now using AI to hack into computers, and they're hacking into all of the hospitals. Every single hospital, major hospital in the United States, has been hacked. There is no single exception. And you have a situation right now where you get concerned that AI is learning more and more, and they're getting more and more efficient. And as a result, all of this is exposed. And it's killing the hospitals because there is a law that if that information gets released, in theory, it's $10,000 per file that's released. Whereas the hospitals can't control it because AI is being used by the Russians, the Chinese, all these foreign operatives to hack into the hospitals. And it's just killing them. So we have a situation right now where we have to worry about AI hacking into data, maybe even the Pentagon. We have to worry, are they going to hack into the nuclear arsenal and then suddenly put us in a position where that's vulnerable? But AI is considered now 1,000,000 times more brilliant than the brightest person that ever lived. That's how much it is expanding.
Yeah, it
And
is
it is
frightening. And so
it is frightening.
what is the purpose? I mean, the thing that I don't like that happened at the state government, and you tell me your thoughts on this. Governor Whitmer basically said, we don't care about local ordinances. We can put in solar fields. We can put in windmills. We will bypass any local controller ordinances. We don't care. We want these things. What's your take on that as we talk about this high-tech world?
Well, some of it's nuts. I mean, let's face it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out that they put all these windmills all over the place. Okay? And when they were making them, they have to realize that the blades that they used were most often made in China or Africa, where the overall amount of carbon that we put into the air when we made these blades is so great that it takes 6 or 7 years to recover from the damage that we had done. And we all live in the same earth. So what was the net gain?
I don't think there was
one. Some of the stuff we do is wacko.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, complete control. Whether it's kill switches in your car, the government telling you we're going to turn 1,000 acres of beautiful farmland in Michigan into the solar field that can't be a farm after that. We're going to put up these windmills built in China and profited by Siemens, a German corporation. To what advantage to an American or a Michigan citizen? Last word to you, Perry.
The last word to me is that I believe America was founded on freedom, and if you start having the government taking over control of our lives, we're in danger. And taking over control of our ability to travel from point A to point B, that's scary to me.
I agree.
So I think the kill switch is one of the worst things that we could ever have had, period.
Period. I couldn't have said it better. PerryJohnson.com if you want to find out more about Perry Johnson and his run for governor. PerryJohnson.com. Perry, always good to talk to you, my friend. Thank you.
Likewise. Enjoy life.
Enjoy life. And do it with wind in your hair, not with the government staring at you from the dashboard, all right? I completely agree with him on that. PerryJohnson.com to find out more. When I come back, Ivy will be here with a big smile on her face as always. Back after this. All righty then. Let's get right back to it. Ivy is in the room, looking great as always with a smile on her face. Ivy, good morning again.
Good morning again.
And how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
And you?
I'm great. Weather's beautiful. A little dry out here, which has me concerned about the fire dangers up north, as I have been for a while now. But I don't mind the sunshine. I don't farm, so I don't need as much rain. But I do worry about the people up north.
Yeah, definitely. I know that the fire concerns are pretty high up there, so let's hope for the best. So I do want to talk about this candidate, Adam Hamawi, who won the New Jersey 12th. Are you familiar with this guy?
I am not. Republican or Democrat? What's the name again? Adam
Hamawi. And he volunteered for a nonprofit which is discovered to be a front for Al-Qaeda. He lied under oath as a defense witness for an Islamic terrorist to protect the blind sheik and during the 1993 World Trade Center bombing.
Way back then.
He has close ties to Islamic terrorists who plotted to bomb the United States. And he just won the primary for the Democrats in New Jersey in the 12th district. So it's a little concerning when I see these very radical congressional candidates win, and we'll see what happens, in November. But if he is to win, he's going to be right up that same alley with AOC and the other members of the squad, probably even more radical than they are. So somebody to watch. I'm really surprised you're not familiar with this guy.
Well, with so many people like Graham Plattner and Abdul El Sayed and all the others, it's, you've got these giant red flags, and so he's a red flag just on a smaller scale, I guess. But yeah, concerning, yes.
Yeah, definitely. Although, as we talked about earlier, a little bit of on the good news side of things, as we're seeing things happen in California, there is a big, actually, red wave happening in California. Now, I don't know what that means for November, but there are some things heading in the right direction. I think people are just absolutely sick of the conditions in California. I actually have a soundbite here from a couple of guys after the elections last night. Let's take a listen to that, Anthony.
Because he's speaking out against communism and socialism, and it is a real big problem in our cities, especially in LA where it's turned to crap. It's not an accident. They're doing it by design. Karen Bass wants to destroy our city, and it's nice to see someone like Spencer Pratt.
I can simplify it because those buzzwords are like they melt the brains of like left, leaning people. So let's just say it this way: he doesn't want a human feces to be a part of your life. Yeah. He doesn't want homeless children outside.
Totally.
Homeless
Thank
people
you.
Outside. Oh,
We
you
have-
didn't
no.
like that.
Oh,
she ran away.
We
He
have
doesn't want homeless people outside of the elementary schools having
Can I
sex
get a shout out real
with
quick?
their
We
own
appreciate
hands.
you.
All right, Anthony, you can come back to us.
We've talked a lot about the.
But there are a lot of actually more people. That was just one bite that I thought was funny, that are talking about how important this mayoral race is. And what is your take on it?
I think that mayoral race is incredibly important. Spencer Pratt really making inroads. And what those guys were saying is exactly right. He's talking about homelessness, fecal matter on the streets.
I mean, the homelessness is rampant there.
Well, one of the other things he talks a lot about are these
And drug
open-air
use.
drug dens.
Exactly.
Near schools where you got all these junkies and their needles and all their nonsense. And you can compare and contrast.
And they're doing that. What is the lean
Hold on.
called?
You did this yesterday. You showed us the fountains in D.C.
That's right.
You showed us the reflection and the reflecting pool and so forth that were garbage for years, filled with algae and
And
the
why
ones
is
that
that
were even
acceptable?
functional.
Why do we want the capital of our nation to look like that?
They
It
can clean
should
up
look-
L.A. the same way. That's what Spencer Pratt is saying. We can clean up L.A.
Yeah.
Karen Bass has done nothing. She's out of touch. But I don't know. I mean, Spencer Pratt, I think he's got her in a runoff. Here's the problem. She had 38% of the vote when I last looked. He was in the 20s somewhere. But if she gets to 50%, there's no runoff. And they've got a third of the votes still coming in. A third. They get mailed in. And so do I trust the system? No, I don't. I think Spencer Pratt makes it to the runoff legitimately. But will they take it away from him and say, oh, look, we magically found ballots in the trunk of the car or whatever?
Oh, look, magic. Look, they're here.
Magic. Look
Oh,
at all
more
these
ballots.
ballots we found. So, and then the other one, Steve Hilton came out on top for the Republicans in the race for governor. But Xavier Becerra, the Democrat, came in second, so they'll be running for governor come November. And look, if you add up all the Democrats, they clearly outvoted the Republicans. And so Xavier Becerra, probably the next governor of California. But Steve Hilton, he might be able to save the place.
I mean, giving them a run for their money, which is very interesting in a state that is very blue. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, it's for about 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
The Democrats have had a supermajority in California. How's that going for you out there, by the way?
Their mass exodus from the state.
Yeah, mass exodus, taxes are out of control. And you know what's sad? You and I have talked this both here on the program and ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful state.
Yeah,
It's spectacular as far as, the mountains and the rivers and the ocean and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And politically, it's a complete turd.
Never would want to live there, ever.
Ever.
Just because of all that. But I do want to ask you a question. This weekend, we're headed over to NASCAR here in Michigan.
Yeah.
So what are you, are you a NASCAR fan?
You know better.
So not a NASCAR fan, generally.
No. Do I watch it? Am I aware of it? Sure. You can't live in America and not be aware of it. But I'm interested in going. All the time I've lived near MIS, I've never been to a NASCAR race. It's my first.
Well,
So,
I like
interested.
fast cars and the smell of racing fuel. There's a little tidbit about me that I bet you didn't know.
I did.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what it is, but there's something very special about the smell of racing fuel. And those of you that know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I have been to several NASCAR races. They're fun. It's when you think about these guys, it really takes a tremendous amount of talent to drive at these speeds and stamina. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it will
I'll
be.
be interested to see your take on it.
And we'll be right down there in pit row.
Yeah.
We've got good
See the guys
access.
working.
Anthony's going for the preview race on Saturday, and we're going on Sunday. So we'll have a complete report come Monday from all of us.
Yeah.
NASCAR.
Love you, Ivy.
I love you.
Oil, gas. That's right. Gasoline Alley. More after this. right. Well, we're going to bring it down to the checkered flag, just like NASCAR. Right? We're going to keep an eye on that Spencer Pratt, Karen Bass race because it's not clear who's going to come out on top. And, it looks like he's made it with Spencer Pratt. But again, I do not trust those mail-in ballots. And there you go. So it's Pride Month. Let me give you this little tidbit here. Here's the headline. Gallup polling finds American support for LGBTQ+ sliding backwards in a big way. A new Gallup poll reveals that American support LGBTQ issues has plateaued and going the other way. Few Americans favoring same-sex marriage or viewing gay relationships as morally acceptable. The survey, released Wednesday, finds while a majority of Americans, 65%, still support same-sex marriage, that figure has dropped 6 points from its peak in 2022. Meanwhile, moral acceptance of gay and lesbian relationships is at 62%, its lowest point in 10 years. Public acceptance of gender transition has experienced a much steeper drop. Today, just 38% of Americans believe changing one's gender is morally acceptable, down 8 points. 57% say it is morally wrong. The cultural shift driven by Republicans and independents. Democrats have remained about the same. The partisan shift clearly seen as attitudes towards same-sex marriage. Among Republicans, support for same-sex legal marriage fallen to 37%, down from 55% back in 2022. And look, the pushback, in my opinion, comes from one place: transgender ideology. I don't think most people care, but the transgender issue has been pushed so hard, people are like, enough already. And it's having backlash in other places. That's my take.
Yeah, I saw a video, Steve, I know we don't got a lot of time, but from a pride parade full of kids. It was a man in the parade, a fat old man, older, in his nothing but whitey tighties.
Yeah.
You can see everything, and he is like flaunting and shaking his junk around. And the video pans to a ton of kids.
It has no place.
Children all watching it. It's crazy.
Has no place. This is Daybreak, and remember, only you can save America.